All right, welcome guys to the NBA live stream. We got 10 games to go over, so we got a lot to talk about. I think this is a pretty interesting slate. We're still waiting on some pretty big news. Status of Andre Drummond, status of Terry Rozier kind of does change the slate. We should get that news somewhat soon. The Cleveland game's at 7 Central, the Charlotte game's at 6:30, so should get that news somewhat soon. Obviously, if Rozier is out, I think LaMelo Ball becomes one of the best plays of the slate. If Andre Drummond is out, Jared Allen becomes one of the best plays in the slate. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, let's go over what we know so far for the day. So there's a lot to go over. Gary Harris is out. I think that makes Monte Morris, Will Barton a little bit more viable for value. We're still waiting on some of this news for the Timberwolves. Juancho Hernangomez available to play in emergency, so I don't think he's going to play. Again, Drummond questionable, Larry Nance questionable. Harden's in for tomorrow. Hero's in, Iguodala's in, Vincent's in, Dragic is questionable, Avery Bradley's. Oh no, Dragic's in now. Yeah, Bradley's in. So basically, all those Miami guys are in. Kind of takes everyone out of play for me there. Trae Young will play. We got the starters of Reddish is starting for DeAndre Hunter. And then, yeah, Rozier questionable. LeBron, AD both playing. We expected that. Again, LaMelo Ball will start if Rozier is ruled out. And we just get that news. Andre Drummond is ruled out. So, yeah, that's pretty significant. So we'll talk about that in a sec. Let's go over the Vegas odds. We have Hornets and Heat. It's a 216.5 over under. The Heat are 7-point favorites. Lakers, Hawks. The Lakers are 7-point favorites. They don't have an under. They don't have an over-under in the game right now. Rockets and Thunder. It's a 224.5 over under. The Rockets are 5-point favorites. Knicks and Bulls, a 218.5 over under. The Bulls are 3.5-point favorites. Blazers, Bucks, 235 over under. The Bucks are 9.5-point favorites. A little bit of blowout risk there. The Kings and Pelicans is a 234 over under. The Pelicans are 3-point favorites. I think that game looks pretty appealing. We have T-Wolves, Cavs, a 219 over under. The Cavs are 4-point favorites. Grizzlies and Spurs, a 221.5 over under. What are we going to get minutes-wise for that game? I don't know. But yeah, 4-point favorites the Spurs are. Hoping we don't get popped again. Suns and Mavs, a 217.5 over under. The Mavs are 2.5-point favorites. And Pistons, Nuggets, a 217 over under. The Nuggets are 8-point favorites. All right, so let's go team by team really quick, and then we can get to questions at the end. So starting with the Lakers and the Hawks, I'll make this pretty simple. I have no interest in anyone in the Lakers. With LeBron and AD in, they're just secondary options in the slate. Would rather get to guys above them, would rather get to guys below them. I'm not getting to either. On the Atlanta side, I'll mention two guys. So Trae Young, I think, is a viable GPP play because he's got 50-plus fantasy point upside. It's obviously not the best matchup, but he's getting a ton of shot attempts up. You can go to him as a contrarian play, and then I think you could make the argument for Cam Reddish for value at 4.8. Probably get low to mid-30s minutes from him. Again, a little up and down production-wise, but I don't think he's the worst value play with no DeAndre Hunter. But that's really it on Atlanta. Moving on to Charlotte, Miami. So we are still waiting on that Terry Rozier news. We should get that somewhat soon. They said LaMelo Ball will start if Rozier's out. If Terry Rozier's out, I think LaMelo Ball becomes one of the best plays of the slate. Now, the one negative is point guard is loaded tonight. There are so many good point guard plays that's you're going to have to make some tough calls. I'll go over a lot of them, but there's a lot of good point guards plays today. But yeah, if LaMelo starts, I think he plays at least 30 minutes. And we know he's a good point per minute guy. When he gets minutes, he usually produces. So it's I would have a hard time getting away from LaMelo Ball if Rozier is out. Gordon Hayward would just be a secondary play, would prioritize LaMelo Ball. The other guy I'll mention is Cody Zeller, and I think he's still playable at 5'3", should play 30 to 35 minutes, a decent point per minute guy. A guy can stuff the stat sheet. I think he's perfectly fine. The one issue with Cody Zeller is at times he'll get in some foul trouble going up against Bam Adebayo. That is, a risk, but I think Cody is still playable at that price. On the Miami side, I'll make this pretty simple. I have no interest in anyone. With Jimmy healthy and Hero back and Dragic back, this team is fully healthy. Everyone is priced up for when guys are out. No interest in anyone. Moving on to New York and Chicago. So a couple plays are interesting here for the New York side. Julius Randle 9-2 is going to fly under the radar. I don't mind getting to him, though. He should play 35 minutes. It's a fantastic spot here against the Chicago Bulls. I love targeting players against this Bulls team. So it's I still think Randle's in play, and I think he goes overlooked on the slate. I do kind of like him. Barrett, I'll stay away from. Quickly is the only guy I mentioned at 5'3". And it's strictly a GPP play. Again, there's a lot of good guard plays in the slate. The minutes have been pretty secure for him. 24, 23, 25, and 27. He's a good point per minute guy, and he's very aggressive when he's on the court. I don't know if he's going to be super popular tonight. There's a lot of good guard plays, but I do like Quickly for GPPs. I like the upside is 40 plus for this guy. So like, I think you could take a shot at him. Probably stay away from everyone else on the New York side. And the Chicago side, there's really one guy I'm interested in. So no Wendell Carter Jr. still. I think Thad Young at 5'7" is a decent play in the mid-range. I think we get about 30 minutes. He's actually almost had a triple-double in back-to-back games. A triple-double for Thad Young. But that's like, he can do that, right? He will stuff the stat sheet. So like, I think we get about 30 minutes again from him. So I think Thad is actually a decent play. Not a priority, but he would be the guy I would look to there for the Bulls. All right, 3 games down. Let's refresh, make sure we're up to date. We are at 300 viewers, 38 likes, guys. Can we get to 100 before the end of the show? That would be greatly appreciated. All right, so let's see. Steven Adams doubtful. Okay, that's pretty significant news. We'll talk about that in a sec. So we're getting more value now. I think Jackson Hayes probably starts. It could be him or Melly. We'll see. Giannis is active. I think this is going to be a stressful slate, guys. We're still waiting on some news, and it's just going to come down to the wire here with a lot of it. Got to make sure you're on top of stuff. So on the Minnesota side, we're still waiting on Naz Reid. We're still waiting on D'Lo. I assume D'Lo plays. Naz Reid is more in question, I think. If Naz Reid is out, I think you could punt with Ed Davis. Both all the good center plays on the slate now, like, I don't even know if I would look to him. Like, we have Jarrett Allen with no Andre Drummond. We have possibly, Jackson Hayes. There's a lot of, and even centers at the top, like Jokic. Al Horford, I think, is viable. Cody Zeller. There's a lot of good center plays. So, like, even if Naz Reid is out, I don't even know if I get to Ed Davis at 3-8. Like, I think he would be viable, but, like, what's the opportunity cost? I don't know if it's worth it to go to him. Other options, Anthony Edwards is back-to-back good games. The good thing with him is he's an aggressive offensive player. I think you can go to him in GPPs. Don't love it. Got a floor somewhat low with him, and that's probably it. Like Hernan Gomez is back, but should not. They said what? Was only going to play in an emergency, right? Yeah. So, Vanderbilt will probably play out the bench, the backup 5, but it's like he's priced accordingly. Like he's priced for 25 minutes, so it's like that's really it on Minnesota. On the Cleveland side, so now this really changes things. I was going to be pretty high on Drummond for GPPs. I was high on him for GPPs last slate, and now he's out. So with Drummond out, I assume Jarrett Allen starts. I assume we get about 30 minutes from him, which makes him a really good play at 5-5 in this matchup. So I do have a good amount of interest in Jarrett Allen. I think he's one of the better plays of the slate. Also, I think this play really flies under the radar. But don't forget about JaVale McGee at 3-1. He hasn't been in the rotation because, Jarrett Allen's been playing the backup 5. But now with Drummond out, I think McGee plays the backup 5. I think we get the normal, 15 to 18 minutes from him. He's a good point per minute guy. I think you can definitely look to him for GPPs, and I don't think a lot of people will consider him. We also have Larry Nance out. That is somewhat significant. Larry Nance is playing about 30 minutes a game. Those minutes have to go somewhere. I think it's going to be a combination of Taurean Prince and Cedi Osman. I think both are fine plays below 5K. Neither are priorities. Like, I would prioritize Jarrett Allen first. But Osman and Taurean Prince are more valuable now. I think both probably play somewhere around the 25 to 30 minute mark is my guess. So, yeah, I think both those wings are more in play. Sexton with no Drummond will have to do more offensively. You can make the argument for him for GPPs. My issue is just, again, there's so many good guard plays that, I don't know if I can really, get super excited about Sexton. And then Garland, kind of the same thing. There's so many good guard plays, I have a hard time getting to him. So really, for me, it's Jarrett Allen with no Drummond. I think JaVale McGee is a really good GPP play that not a lot of people look to. And then I think Prince and Osman are a little bit more viable. Moving on to Portland, Milwaukee. Let's see. Let's refresh this. Let's make sure we're up to date. We got news that Giannis is in. Kind of expected that. All right. So on the Portland side, I think Dame is a good GPP play. For me, I'm kind of leaning towards more the balance build. I think there's a lot of good plays in the mid-range today. But Dame is a guy that you can for sure, if you wanted to make a GPP lineup and stack Dame with Giannis and then go value, I don't hate that. Dame has a lot of upside, even this matchup. So, a good GPP play. I like Cantor as well for GPPs at 7-2. He's been playing, over 30 minutes. He's a good point per minute guy, firmly in play there as well. The wings I'm going to stay away from in a 10-game slate with Covington back. I don't think we have to go there. On the Milwaukee side, there's really only one guy I'm interested in, and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's just an absolutely amazing matchup here against Portland. He's been playing huge minutes in competitive games. Now, there is some blow risk here. This Portland team is not great with no CJ and no Nurkic, but if this game can stay competitive and if we get close to 40 minutes from Giannis, I think he could have a really good game. So Giannis, I think, is one of the better spin-ups of the slate. I'm going to pass on everyone else on Milwaukee. Moving on to Sacramento and New Orleans. So this is one of my favorite games to target. I really like this game. De'Aaron Fox at 8-3. I think he goes overlooked in the slate. But he's playing big minutes. He's a guy who can stuff the stat sheet. Even though New Orleans plays slow, like I said, they're not a great defensive team. So it's like, I kind of like Fox for tournaments. I think he's going to be pretty low owned today. Hield, Holmes, Barnes, no thank you. I'll pass in Bagley too. The two other guys I'll mention, Tyrese Halliburton at 5'2", I think is one of the better, if you consider him value plays at 5'2". I like him a good amount. He should play about 30 minutes. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. So Halliburton, I think, is a really solid play at that price point. I also have interest in Hassan Whiteside. Now, I was a little bit skeptical going into that Miami game because the previous game, Holmes got in foul trouble. But if we look at Rashawn Holmes, if we look at that last game, he played 28 minutes, only had 2 fouls. So he was not in foul trouble. They just rode with Whiteside. So I'm like, all right, I think the plan is now to give Whiteside at least like somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. And I think he's actually firmly in play here. A good GPP option, a good point per minute guy. I mean, you saw what he did 2 games ago, one for 32 and 20 minutes. I am intrigued by Whiteside for tournaments. I think the minutes will be there based on what we've seen recently. On the New Orleans side, one of my favorite teams to target. I really like the Pelicans tonight in just an absolutely amazing spot here against the Kings. Ingram versus Zion, I will give the edge to Zion. I think he's got a higher floor right now. Love the spot for him. He should play mid-30s minutes. I think Zion is one of the better plays in the slate. I also have a good amount of interest in Bledsoe and Lonzo. Now, like I said, there are a lot of good guard plays in the slate, so you got to make some tough calls. But like both these guys in competitive games, last few games, were like Bledsoe's on track for mid-30s minutes. Same with Lonzo. I'm expecting 33 to 35 minutes for these guys in a close game if this game stays close, and it's a really good matchup. I think both Bledsoe and Lonzo are in play. Probably prefer the price on Lonzo, but like I like both the guards here. And then with Steven Adams doubtful, curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. I would guess it's going to be Jackson Hayes that starts. They could do Melee too. We'll see. Let's see. Do we have any more news on that? We got the news that he's doubtful, Steven Adams. Terry Rozier ruled out. Okay, so with that news, obviously LaMelo Ball becomes a really, really good play. So yeah, I'm assuming it'll be Jackson Hayes. If Jackson Hayes does start, I would guess we get at least 20 minutes from him, and then at 4K, I think he would make a pretty solid value play. We also might get some more minutes for NAW. They ran a little bit small ball that last game with kind of Zion at the 5. Curious to see if they do that again. They might. So like you could look to him as a contrarian GPP option. Prefer the minute. I'm more comfortable with the minutes though on Ball and Bledsoe. And then yeah, Melly. I think there's an outside chance he might start. We'll see. I'm guessing it's gonna be Hayes, but we don't know that for certain. So yeah, all in all, this Pelicans team is a team I really like. Zion at the top, Bledsoe and Ball in the mid range, and then whoever starts at center, guessing it would be Jackson Hayes. Moving on to Houston OKC, another game I do like. Now, Wood, Oladipo, at their respective prices, they're priced about right. Not saying they're out of play, but like they don't look like amazing plays. The guy that I do have interest in is John Wall. Below 7K, he was on pace for about 30 minutes. So he played 30 minutes 2 games ago, was on pace for 30 that last game. I'm guessing the minutes go up a little bit. They might, or they might not. They might only stay about 30. But if they go up to like 32, 34 minutes, then he's like a really good play. So this is a situation of you're kind of guessing and hoping he plays a little bit more. If he does, if I knew John Wall was going to play 34 minutes tonight, I think he would be one of the best plays in the slate. Which is a matter of, will the minutes be there? He could only play 30. If he only plays 30, I think he's a fine play. If he plays 34, he becomes a really good play. Like those minutes matter big time, right? So it's like, depends on what you think happens with his minutes. I think he's a solid play at 30 minutes. I think he's a really good play at 34 or 35 minutes. So good point per minute guy. Like the matchup for him. It's just a matter of, do the minutes get extended? Everyone else, there's just no way I'm playing anyone else in Houston. On the OKC side, so this OKC team is going to be pretty popular. I like SGA a good amount at the top at 8-1. I think he's one of the better point guard plays of the slate. Like I said, there's a lot of good point guards though, so you got to make some tough calls. But SGA is definitely up there. I think it is one of the better plays. Played 31 minutes in a blowout. Was on pace for about 35, 36. If this game stays, the good thing with SGA is I always say, like, if Oklahoma City are going to keep games competitive, most of the time it's because of SGA having a big game. So, like, I love the matchup here against Houston. So I think SGA is a really good play there at 8-1, can stuff the stat sheet. I also have interest in Al Horford. Horford, I think, flies under the radar. I hear a lot of people talking about Lou Dort. Like, I've heard Lou Dort is going to be the chalkiest play in the slate. Excuse me? Like, what? Like that was my same reaction to like Bruce Brown being the chalkiest play 2 slates ago. I don't know why that's the case. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I think Al Horford is actually a pretty solid play. This is the Al Horford I thought we would get. You know, early on in the season, he was really struggling. But, like, he, I think, is a still good fantasy producer playing the center position. It's a good matchup against Wood and Boogie. I think Al Horford is actually a pretty solid play that goes overlooked in the slate. I think Bazley and Dort are good GPP plays. Like I said, Dort, I don't get why he's going to be the most popular play in the slate. Like, I guess I get it because of minutes. Like, he should play about 30 minutes. But it's just like, he has a pretty low floor. Like, he has upside, sure, right? We've seen a couple games from Lou Dort where he's, like, got on fire and went for 6 steals and, like, hit his shots. But, like, normally he's like a, you know, again, a good defender and kind of hovering around like 15 to 20 fantasy points. So it's like, yeah, that's a fine option. I don't think he's a terrible play. Should he be the most popular play in the slate? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So it's like, if he's going to be the most popular play in the slate, I am just completely fine going elsewhere. Let's see. Maladin at 4-3, I think is decent value as well. Should play about 30 minutes. Now, he did have a really good shooting game. Shot about 8 of 9. I think that will raise his ownership. Just be careful. Like, he's a guy I expect probably around 20 fantasy points, give or take. I don't think we get 36 again from him. So it's like, that might be one where people might chase. And I think he's fine, but not a priority for me either. And that's it. Like, Diallo played a little bit more last game. He's a good point per minute guy. I think he's a fine option. Really, for me, it's SGA. SGA and Horford are the guys I like the best, obviously, at the top. Like, if you land on one of those value guys, fine. But, like, if Lou Dort's going to be the most popular play in the slate, I will gladly look elsewhere. All right, let's refresh Fantasy Labs. Let's make sure we're up to date here. Yep, so LaMelo Ball is starting. Gotta like LaMelo Ball on the Phoenix side. So we're still waiting on Devin Booker news. He's currently questionable. If Devin Booker plays, well, I just have no interest in this team at all. If Devin Booker misses, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton become solid plays at their respective prices. Neither would be a priority. I know Chris Paul had a huge game last time. I know that. But, like, I don't think we get 60 fantasy points again from Chris Paul. I think he'll probably be a guy that plays 32 to 35 minutes and has a decently high floor because of assist. But, like, again, there's a lot of good point guard plays in this slate. Chris Paul is one of them. If Booker's out, I think Chris Paul's a good play, but he wouldn't be like a must play for me. Same thing with DeAndre Ayton. If Booker's out, I think he's definitely viable, but there's so many good center plays, a lot of good cheap center plays now that, like, what's the opportunity cost of playing him over one of those value centers, right? And then the wings is just, I'm just not going to them. On the Dallas side, so Luka Doncic is going to go under the radar. He's going to be low owned on the slate. Like I said, there's so many good point guard plays. He's like, we might get like 5% Luka on the slate, but like, he's got 80 fantasy point upsides. Like, I like Luka quite a bit for tournaments. If you're comfortable with enough of the value plays around him, I'm perfectly fine going to Luka Doncic at that price. Don't even hate taking a shot on Porzingis in GPPs. You know, got rested the last game and got in foul trouble the previous game. I expect, you know, about 32 to 35 minutes from him. Could see him, you know, paying off that salary, but he's been a little bit inconsistent, so can't go there for cash games. I'm not going to THJ. There's absolutely no way I'm paying 4 or 5 for Willie Cauley-Stein. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, they both got extended at last game. 34 for DFS and I think 35 for J-Rich. They're both more like defensive players, but like if we get mid-30s minutes from them, I actually think they're fine value plays. Like, I think you could consider them. All right, 2 games left. Let's refresh this one more time. Let's see where we're at. We are at almost 500 viewers, 89 likes. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Naz Reid came down decision. D'Lo will play. Okay. All right. So, Memphis and San Antonio. This is one of my favorite games to target that last slate. And then what happened? The bench just played enormous minutes for both teams. So I was like, what on earth? Ja Morant. First game back from that little hiatus, only played 28 minutes. that was a little bit tilting. I thought he would get normal minutes of about 35. I'm guessing these minutes go up, but kind of like John Wall, we don't know that for sure. So it's like, if Ja Morant plays 28 minutes tonight, I think he's a fine option. If he plays 35 minutes tonight, I think he's an amazing play. So another situation of, if you play him, you got to hope he plays those extra minutes. Because for some reason, I have no idea why, DeAnthony Melton played 32 minutes. It's like, all right, why? Like, actually, why? So, like, I have no idea why that happened. Ja Morant, if, again, just depended on the minutes, right? 28 minutes, fine play. 35 minutes, amazing play. I don't know what he gets. I would guess the minutes go up. By how much is the question? So maybe we'll get somewhere in between that. Brandon Clark at 6'2", solid option, not a priority for me. And then Xavier Tillman's at 4'8". Price bump, only played 21 minutes. I expect somewhere around 20 to like 30 minutes. Again, kind of the same thing. If he plays 30, he's a really good value play. If he plays 20, not so much. So another one where it's like, we don't know the minutes for sure. So kind of a riskier option, I guess. Gorgie Jang actually played more than him. You can take a shot at him and hope he gets extended. I don't really know what the plan is with these center minutes at the moment. So it's like kind of hard to really get excited about either. But you could play one and hope they get extended. And that's really it for me on the Memphis side. On the San Antonio side, all right, so we got popped last slate. You guys ready to get popped again? I'm ready to get popped again. DeMar DeRozan at 7K. Small forward's pretty weak. 7K in a good matchup should play 35 minutes. I think he's a good tournament play. I think people are going to be hesitant to go back. I don't mind going right back to the wall DeMar DeRozan. Got to have short-term memory in DFS. I know a lot of people, this is my last time playing DeRozan. Fine. You don't have to play him. And I'm not confident at all because Greg Popovich is his coach. Now, we do have to take into consideration that was his third game in 4 nights, and they were just getting crushed. So, I think he just took it easy on, the main guy's minutes. I'm guessing we get 35 minutes. If we do get those minutes, kind of like Ja Morant, kind of like John Wall, I think DeMar DeRozan is a really good play. It's just a matter of, will we get those minutes? So are you willing to take the risk? For me, I am. DeJounte Murray, I also like at 6'6". One of the better point guard plays of the slate. Like I said, though, a ton of good point guards are on this slate, so you got to make some tough calls. I expect about 30 minutes from him. A guy can stuff the stat sheet. DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, those are the two guys I'm looking to. Keldon, LMA, they're too inconsistent for me. You can go there in GPs if you want to. With Derek White back, that hurts Mills, that hurts Lonnie Walker. I'll pass on both of them. Rudy Gay, the minutes have been up and down on him. If he plays 23 minutes, he could get there, but it's there's a chance he only plays 15, so hard to get really confident about that. And that's it. Last game, Detroit-Denver. So this game has some blowout risk. This Detroit team is one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NBA right now. Let's see. What's the 8-point spread for Denver? Jeremy Grant, if you guys are into revenge game narratives, again, we got a revenge game. He's been playing not great recently. Obviously, the blowout hurt the last game, but this is a good matchup. And if the Pistons are going to keep this game close, I would assume Jeremy Grant's probably going to have a big game. So, I'm actually okay with playing him GPPs. Now, if you're playing Nikola Jokic tonight, it might make sense to run it back with a Jeremy Grant. Because Jokic is a really good play if the game stays close. If the game stays close, would guess Jeremy Grant is the reason why. So that's kind of just a roster construction tip if you're playing Jokic. I think it might make sense to run it back with Grant for GPPs. Now, would I go there in cash games? No, because this Pistons team, like I said, is terrible, and there's a decent chance the game does not stay competitive. DeLon Wright, there's just no way I'm paying 6-1 for him. Blake Griffin is completely washed. He'll have one good game out of 5. There's just no way I'm playing him either. Mason Plumlee's the other guy I'll mention at 5'3". Also a revenge game narrative. It's just a matter of, does he stay out of foul trouble? I don't know. He's a guy that's been fouling out a ton. If I knew Mason Plumlee was going to play 30 minutes tonight, he would actually be one of my favorite plays at that price. But there's probably a better than 50% chance that he gets in foul trouble. So it's risk-reward factor there with Plumlee. The rest of the Pistons, no thank you. I'm just not going to anyone else. And then finally on the Denver side. So Nikola Jokic, again, at the top, obviously looks really good in an amazing matchup. Just a matter of, Are you confident that the Pistons can keep it close? I think there's a decent chance it might blow out. Murray, MPJ, good tournament options. They're both up and down. Now, there is no Gary Harris. So, like, Will Barton, Monte Morris, I think are decent value plays. Again, small forward is kind of weak. I could see going to Barton. Now, it's not like he's been super consistent either, right? Like, he's had somewhat low floor. The minutes have also been kind of up and down on him. I'm guessing we get around 30 minutes, but there's just that's never like a confident thing with these Denver, these secondary plays. Like, besides really Jokic and Murray, everyone else kind of the minutes fluctuate. So it's like another situation where if you play Barton, you got to hope he probably gets 30 or 30 plus minutes. But I think if he does, there's a decent chance he could pay off his salary in this matchup. And then Monte Morris with no Gary Harris. He started the second half of the last game. If he starts again, I actually think he's a solid value play. A decent point per minute guy. I would expect, maybe 25 to 30 minutes. I would have some interest in Monte Morris. Again, point guard though. So it's like, what is the opportunity cost of playing him at point guard compared to a lot of those other good point guard plays we mentioned? And then Capozzo actually played about 20 minutes on the bench, a viable dart throw in GP piece. But yeah, that's really it, guys, for the team-by-team breakdown. So let's refresh Fantasy Labs, and then we'll get into some questions. I'll stay on for a good 10 minutes, and then, I got to update some stuff for Patreon with some of this news. Nas Reed game time decision. Okay, so we're up to date. Wiseman will be out for a bit. The Golden State's not on the slate, though. So, all right, let's get to some questions here. 500 viewers, 105 likes. Thank you, guys. Really, really do appreciate that. 30 minutes for Prince tonight. I would say somewhere around 20 to 30, like maybe 25 to 30. Him and Osman should play more with no Larry Nance. Jokic about to put, Jokic is in a great spot. Allen or Horford for cash. I think it's Jared Allen with not DeAndre Jordan, with Andre Drummond out. Best power forward at 6K. Let's see. Power forward in 6K. I would say Thad Young at 5'7". Jokic or Giannis. They're very similar plays. Both have huge upside if the game stays close, but it's just a matter of, does the game stay close? So it's like, I don't know. Are you more confident with Portland keeping it close, or are you more confident with Detroit keeping it close? I think there's pretty equal blowout risk in both games. So it's just a matter of which game are you more confident that stays close. Exactly. Best cheap forward depends what do you consider cheap? I don't think there's a lot of like standout for like value forwards at the moment, to be honest. So like, again, Tillman, if he gets closer to 30 minutes, I think he'd have a good game. I think Prince is a little bit more viable. You have the Loot Dort chalk that's going to be really popular. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I think Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith are actually okay value plays that I think people will box score watch and avoid them. But if we get like mid-30s minutes for both DFS and J-Rich, I think they're actually okay value plays. I do. And I think they're going to fly under the radar. So, Porzingis or Morant? Thoughts on Monk as a LaMelo pivot? I wouldn't do it. Lonzo and Zion or Murray and DeRozan? I would rather have Lonzo and Zion because I'm just more confident with their minutes. Congrats on 8K, man. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, just hit 8K a couple days ago. Guys, let's smash the like button. We get 300 likes easily with 500 people. 300 would be the record. I don't know if we can get that. But yeah, 125 likes. I appreciate that, guys. Pat Connaughton season, he has had over 20 fantasy points the last couple games, but I don't know if we have to go there. 3.1K McGee over 4K Hayes. In tournaments, no. I think, again, like McGee, I would have to assume he plays the backup center. Like, I don't think they go small ball. So, like, I think McGee plays 15 to 20 minutes. I'm actually pretty high on JaVale McGee as a tournament play. I don't think people get to him, but, like, as long as he plays that backup center role and plays 15 to 20 minutes, you could easily get 20 from McGee. Fox, Quickly, Barrett, Zion, Allen, Ball, Young, and Hayes. So, RJ Barrett's the guy I'm not really on. I don't love it. Fox is a good play for ownership. Quickly is high risk, high reward, but like he's got upside, and everything else I'm fine with. What do you think about LaMelo Ball, Halliburton, Taurean Prince, Giannis, Jokic, Malik Monk, Melli, and Jared Allen? It's a little bit risky. I think I would only play Melli if he starts. Malik Monk, probably plays more. How many minutes did he play the last game? He played 23. He had a decent game, but it's just like, I guess he's in play. I don't know if I would personally do it. Like, again, I kind of like the more balanced build. I don't really want to consider guys like Malik Monk or like Lou Dort, right? LaMelo, okay, I already went over that. Porzingis and Morant, yeah, Morant. JaMychal, I'll pass on. Lonzo or Halliburton? That's a good question. I think they're two of the better plays in that range. I'll go Lonzo, but they're basically identical plays to me. Adams is out, is good for Zion. Yeah, he should play some more at the 5. DeJounte or LaMelo? LaMelo. Hayward for cash? I don't know if I go to Gordon Hayward for cash. Would rather have LaMelo Ball. Middleton is last piece, or who do you pay? I'm always just like okay with Middleton. At 8.5, I would probably rather get to Zion at 7.9, to be honest. Yeah, I think I would leave some saddle on the table, and I would personally go to Zion. Small forward, 6K for cash. I don't think there's anyone I would play here. Yeah. I would not play anyone there in cash games. So I would probably rearrange something there. Zeller or Jackson Hayes? Zeller, if you can get to Zeller. Thad Young, PJ Washington, Barnes, Thad Young. Yeah, I think you can definitely play both LaMelo and Lonzo, for sure. Can you play both McGee and Allen? See, I think you can. Like, I don't think people will do that, but, like, if we get, let's just say, 28 to 30 minutes out of Jared Allen, and then the rest goes to JaVale McGee. So, like, what, 18-ish for JaVale McGee? JaVale McGee's at min price. So, like, you don't need a lot for him to pay off his salary. And Jared Allen's at, like, 5K. I think they can both get there. Quickly or Halliburton? So, Halliburton is a lot safer. I think Halliburton is the safer play. Quickly is the high-risk, high-reward play. If you play Giannis, would you want Lillard run it back? You don't have to. You don't have to, but like you could for tournaments. 5,300 for utility. Let's see. 5,300 in utility. I would probably do Halliburton. It would be Halliburton or Cody Zeller for me. Russell or DeRozan? DeRozan. Ford under 5.5. Let's see. Another situation, I don't like really anyone here. Yeah, I personally would move something around there. Small forward cash? I don't know if there really is one. Small forward is pretty weak. Like, can you pull a trigger on DeRozan in cash? You might be able to. But again, it's Popovich as a coach. I assume those minutes were limited because of 3 and 4 night, but like you just never know. Yeah, there's not a lot of small forwards I like. So like I think Barton is viable with no Gary Harris. You know, Taurean Prince is a little bit more viable now with no Larry Nance. You can go to the chalk, Lou Dort. I don't love that. I think Dorian Finney-Smith and Jay Rich, I think are like value plays that not a lot of people are talking about. But like, if we get 35 minutes from Jay Rich and 35 for DFS, I know they're low usage guys, but like I think they're okay value plays. And people are playing Lou Dort. I would rather have Dorian Finney-Smith or Josh Richardson over Lou Dort. That's just me. Sexton or Wall. LaMelo and Jarrett Allen or Fox and James Johnson. LaMelo and Jarrett Allen. No, I don't really have interest in Kyle Anderson. Barton or Tillman or other forward under 4.8. Depends. I think I would like Tillman if I knew he was going to play close to 30 minutes, but like he only played 21 the last game. So Tillman is a little bit risky because I'm not sure about the minutes. I mean, you can kind of say the same thing about Will Barton. The minutes are never really secure there. It's a tough one. Both are in good matchups. I think if both play 30 minutes, I would rather have Tillman. So I guess the answer is Tillman. But like I said, both minutes are kind of up in the air. Hayward for cash, he's like a fringe cash play. I think you could do it. He's been up and down. Like the thing with Gordon Hayward, though, the minutes will be there. So it's like, yes, he has a somewhat low floor. I think he's fine for cash. I don't love it, but like, yeah, you can do it. Taj Gibson season. Prize Picks plays. Let's see. I can go to this really quick. Let's refresh Fantasy Labs. Okay, guys. I'll stand for a couple more minutes. Again, I do have to get off because I got to update some stuff for Patreon. But Prize Picks, let's see. What do we got here? I like the over on LaMelo Ball. 32, that's too low. I like the under in Rashawn Holmes. Right now the minutes are down. I think I'll go the under in Rashawn Holmes. I like the over on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 41. That's probably it. Yeah. So hope that helps. Ford under 6,500. Let's see. Ford and 6,500. Yeah, so I think this is a situation where I would move something around. I mean, if I had to pick, it would be Brandon Clark. But, like, I don't love him if he only plays, like, 25 to 30 minutes. So it would be Clark if I had to pick, but, like, I don't know if that's optimal. Sexton or Buddy Hield Sexton? Sterling Brown in play? No. Wait, why is Dort chalk? Good question. I don't know. Pivot off Randall to Ingram. Ingram's fine. Would rather have Zion than Ingram. Who would you take out of LeBron and LeBron Davis or Trae Young? So if you're playing GPPs, Trae Young. Trae Young, because I think he's obviously flashed the 50-plus fantasy point upside. He's the cheapest of the bunch, but he's also the riskiest of the bunch. 4K for Barton and FanDuel, yeah, that's too cheap. Quickly, Dort, Yuck, DeRozan, Prince, Allen, Barton, Zion, and Jokic. Again, it's a little bit of a high-risk, high-reward lineup. Pay up for Fox or play Wall? That's a good question. I'm a little bit more comfortable with Fox's minutes, and I think Fox flies under the radar. So give me Fox, just because Wall, I'm not convinced plays more. Like I said, it's the same situation with Ja, same situation with a couple other guys where the minutes are a little bit more in question. Fox, I'm pretty convinced in a close game he'll play about 35 to 35-plus minutes. Hayes or Morris? Wait, which Morris are we? Oh, Hayes or Monte Morris? If Jackson Hayes starts, I'd rather have Jackson Hayes. And that's just because point guard is loaded. That's the reason why. Is point guard is loaded, and the opportunity cost of playing Monte Morris at that point guard spot, I don't know if it's worth it. Lillard and Giannis you can play them both together. Whiteside and Giannis or DeRozan and Hayward. I mean, both are risky. Give me the first one. Edwards or Halliburton? Halliburton. I wouldn't play. I'm staying away from the Heat. Whiteside or JaVale? I think Whiteside and JaVale are almost identical plays. Both are cheap. Both should play 15 to 20 minutes out of the bench. It's almost a pick 'em there. If you don't have the money for Whiteside, go JaVale. I'm perfectly fine with either, though. They're literally like the identical play to me. I think JaVale will be lower owned, so maybe go JaVale. Horton Tucker viable. He has played more recently. I'm not fully convinced about his minutes yet, so like I'm going to pass for now. Jimmy okay for cash? No. I don't think I would play Jimmy Butler with Goran and Tyler Hero back. Big Turney, Trae Young, Halliburton, Osman, Zion, Horford, Garland, Hayward, Composo. I don't love it. SGA and Edwards or Butler and Lonzo in cash. I would not play Anthony Edwards in cash. So I guess it's Butler and Lonzo. THT or Gallo, I wouldn't play either. If I had to pick one, THT, I guess, for the price. Portis or Prince? You guys give me Prince now with Nance out. Barnes or Healed? I wouldn't play either. I guess if I had to pick, it would be Barnes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Halliburton, Barton, AB, Whiteside, Zoe, J. Rich, and Morant. I think it looks pretty good, Jason. Yeah, I like that. Nader for value, no thank you. All right, one more minute, guys, then I have to get out of here. Zeller or Lonzo? Lonzo has more upside than Zeller. So, like, if I had to pick, I'd go Lonzo, but I do like Zeller a decent amount. Giannis a bit, yeah, there's some blowout risk with Giannis. Dort, J. Rich, or DFS? I think for me, it's J. Rich there. Can you play both McGee and Allen? Yeah, I think you can. I think you can do it. It'll definitely differentiate your lineup. Cantor and GBPs, yeah, he's in play for GBPs. 7K utility. All right, last question, then I do it to get out of here. 7.2K and utility. I think I would go. It depends on your risk tolerance. Like if you're, I guess for like a safer option, it might be Cantor. As weird as that sounds. If you want to risk it, I would go DeMar DeRozan or John Wall there. All right, guys, I do have to get out of here because I got to update some stuff for Patreon with this news. So thanks again. I appreciate everyone coming to check out the live stream. We almost hit 200 likes. That is insane. Over 500 viewers too as well. So have a good night, guys. Keep an eye on that news. Good luck, and I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow.